Hello folks, I hope you're doing really well. Welcome back to another video. So this is my second time filming this intro because what I originally thought the video was going to be ended up changing completely. So basically I just got home from the barn and I had planned to film like a come ride with me type barn vlog with Merlin and Eve, but time just got away from me and I didn't really have time to film anything but the ride itself. As I'm filming this, it is Friday, August 4th, and I'm leaving at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning to go drive all the way out to the East Coast to visit my family and for my best friend's wedding. So my plans of riding both horses and filming a video just didn't happen because in true Kaitlyn fashion, I am a procrastinator and I still have to pack and tidy my apartment and things like that. So what today's video is going to be is a dressage ride on Merlin talk through. We're starting to up the ante a little bit with Merlin's dressage training. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a lesson with my coach where we touched on several new things in the same session. And those are kind of the things that I'm planning on working on throughout the next couple of months. So if you are interested in seeing how I'm starting to intensify my 4-year-old warm blood's dressage work a little bit, then stick around and I hope you enjoy. Okie dokie, so I'm starting out on the big man. He's looking at the bench that I just used to get on because I'm using the mounting block as my tripod for the pivot. You're all right. So yeah, I'll do 6 or 7 minutes of like regular walk and then I will get off, set my pivot walk, get back on and do a few minutes of just like suppling work at the walk, and then I'll start my trot warm up. And into that trot warm up, I will integrate one of the things that I'm starting to work on more regularly with him, and that is proper trot to walk transitions. He's really good at the upward transitions, but the downward transitions, he finds it hard to kind of sit and stay in connection and do them quickly. Normally it takes him a good 5 or 6 strides. And within that trot warm up, I can also incorporate one of the other things that I'm working on, which is like straight lines. So just trotting straight down the quarter line or center lines is something that we've done a little bit of, but I am careful not to do too much of center lines because he is a big horse and I don't want him doing too many 10-meter turns. And then we are also starting to work on some baby leg yielding and lengthening within the trot. And this is all stuff that I will incorporate into the warm up. And then at the canter, we're kind of just keeping it basic, making sure that he stays connected and feels strong, just continuing to build up that strength to hold himself and carry himself properly. And for me, the main thing I'm working on my riding with him at the moment is to just make sure that I'm keeping my shoulders back, which will help me sit the canter, which will help me keep my elbows bent rather than straight. I tend to hunch a little bit. Don't you dare. Just trying to grab the flowers. I kind of tend to pick one thing at a time to work on with my riding, and right now it is my kind of straightness and shoulders. So in the interest of this not being a 45-minute video, I've cut out a lot of the walking and a lot of the things that are kind of repetitive. So you're not going to see the whole ride uncut, but I've left in a lot more than I normally do in much longer clips. So the first 5 to 10 minutes of pretty much any ride with Merlin start with a long walk on a loose rein. And then once I feel like he's loosened up adequately, I'll do 5 minutes of suppling work at the walk before we go into the trot. So you can see here he's walking really nicely in a decent contact. So then after the walk, we go up into the trot and start our trot warm up. Now, I'm reaching the point with him where I want to make sure that every trot transition that I do is as good as it can be. And I'm not saying that it has to be perfect. I'm just saying that he has to kind of be moving off of my leg into my hand, as well as staying in a decent outline. Now, as we make our way through the trot warm-up footage, you will notice that I do a lot of trot to walk transitions and back up. So until recently, I haven't really focused on doing nice trot to walk transitions because he's always found them hard. Like, he doesn't go from a trot straight to a walk. It always takes him a little while to get there, but now that he is getting stronger, my coach and I both feel that he's ready to start doing some proper trot to walk transitions in connection. And it's not that he doesn't understand the aids either, because he has a very good understanding of half halting and the seat aids. I think he just genuinely finds it hard. So I'm just sprinkling those transitions in throughout the warm-up as a way of varying the warm-up a little bit and of getting one of the things on my list ticked off before the working ride even starts. So our trot warm-up tends to be 5 big 20-meter circles alternating where they are in the arena, followed by 2 3-loop serpentines and maybe some shallow loops, just as a way of making sure that he's supple and bending well from left to right and moving off my inside leg and things like that. So an exercise that I actually did for the first time on this day with him was doing a walk transition over X, and you'll notice as we go through the ride that he gets way better and way quicker, and I think it's partly because the transitions come up so quick that I'm forced to really set him up well. If I want a good transition on target, I really have to start collecting him and asking him for the transition a few strides out before the middle of the arena. So I praised the heck out of that last transition because even though it still took a few strides, he stayed decently in connection and he listened way quicker. Another thing that I kind of sprinkled into the warm-up was working on trotting some straight lines, so just straight down the quarter line. This is something that I've been doing in my last couple lessons, and it just is a good way of slowly starting to introduce the idea of center lines, because he won't be able to do a nice center line if he can't trot straight off the wall. So now we've done some trot work to the right, which is his better way. So we do a little bit of a walk break, and then I go to bring him up into the trot and he spooks at something. So I just kind of, you know, was reassuring with him and turned him towards the thing. I just still don't know what it was. He was looking at something in this corner. And something that I've grown to learn about him is that if he's nervous or scared of something, it's much better to just let him stand and stare at it for a couple of minutes than it is to try to, you know, force him to go past it, because he will keep spooking at it. So if I let him stop and stare, he tends to move on without any fuss. So he started offering a really nice stretch this way, and when I can, I try to let him do a good portion of his trot warm-up in a stretchy trot. When we're doing dressage rides, I tend to try to ask for a little bit more collection, but he had done so well the other way that I thought, what the heck, I'll let him do a few circles in a stretchy trot, and then we'll go up to a bit more collected once we start doing our serpentines. So I did the same thing this way, a slightly more collected trot, and then walk transitions over X, and like, he was so much better as he made his way throughout the ride. A little inconsistent in the contact, but I was so pleased. So then we moved on to practicing one of the other things that we worked on in our most recent lesson for the first time, and that was slight lengthening in the trot. So as you can see here, he has a couple of like nice-ish strides, but he's pretty inconsistent in the contact and it gets a little wild. So I brought him back to a more collected trot, and then we try again. And he was much better. I felt a lot of power beneath me here and a lot of potential, so I was really happy. So I only did it twice. Whether it's in dressage or jumping, I don't really believe in drilling horses over and over again. If they give me one or two nice attempts, that's enough. So left rein trot work done. We do another 2 to 3 minute walk break before going up into the canter. Now I've left this in just to show that even though he is very good, he still has his baby moments, and one of the things that he has struggled with straight from the start was picking up the right hand lead. Now upon chatting with his chiropractor, it's because he has a weak left stifle, and it's gotten a lot stronger over the last few months that we've been doing exercises, but he still will pick up the wrong lead every now and again. Now if you've watched my channel for a while and have witnessed Merlin's progression under saddle, I hope that you notice a big difference in his canter, because I certainly do. He's so much more elevated in the canter, not as much on the forehand, and is a lot more connected. And where he is thriving at the canter is definitely the gait of his that I struggle the most with, because I find it quite hard to sit. I'm not used to big warm blood strides, like sitting them. Short tangent away from that, just to say that you'll notice here I get off his back and go into a bit of a half seat, just because I felt him starting to struggle a little bit, so I wanted to do a kind of long and low canter circle before giving him a walk break. So back to my riding issues. So as I was saying, there is something to be said about the difference of sitting a canter in a dressage saddle versus a jump saddle. It's a much different position, but sitting in general is something that I'm working on with my riding, and the main thing that we've noticed is the issues that I have sitting at the canter come from my habit of slouching my shoulders or leaning forward a bit. So something that my coach had me do, or has had me do in recent lessons, is just to focus on putting my shoulders back, which makes the vertical of my body much straighter, and it makes it much easier to sit. So now we are to the left, and even though he finds it much easier to pick up the canter this way, I almost find it his worst way, because he doesn't move off my inside leg as easily, and it's just not as smooth and put together a canter. So at this point our canter work is done, and I just gave him a little bit of a stretch before going back into the walk, which I cut out because, yeah, I just felt repeatedly showing the walk was a bit boring. So before the ride ended, there was one more thing that I wanted to work on, and that is the baby leg yields that we've been doing. So in order to set up the correct angle for a leg yield, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but my coach basically has taught me that you can go down the quarter line and almost make as though you're doing a diagonal line going towards one of the letters, and then once you feel like you're in the correct angle, you can hint. Once you are, you know, a few feet away from the wall, you can hint for a couple of strides, and that has seemed to be working really well with Merlin. Now this was only his second ever time doing this, so I wasn't expecting miracles, but there are a couple of moments where he does a couple of really nice step overs, and it gave me a really great feeling. Now at this point I think he was starting to get a little bit tired, but I wanted to do a couple of more efforts this way, so I brought him back to a walk and walked the opposite long side and then went back up into the trot. So I'm a bit iffy about this one because he's inconsistent going into it, but then he does a couple of nice strides and then he gets really quite overbent, which is obviously not what I want, nor am I asking for it, but he tends to go above and below contact when he's getting tired. And this was the effort I think that I ended on, because he stayed pretty straight and he actually did a couple of really pretty decent leg yield strides going towards V. So there it is. That was the ride. It was tougher in some ways than I thought it would be because Merlin had more energy than I was expecting, but we worked through it and there were some really nice moments. So definitely let me know if you enjoy this kind of more in-depth riding talk through. I don't think I've done a video like this in the past, so I'll be intrigued to see what you think. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment down below, and hit the like button. Every little interaction really does help in helping me expand my audience and get these videos to new people. And I really appreciate every single new person who checks my videos out and decides that they enjoyed it enough to hit subscribe. So until next time, I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Don't forget to give your horse or pony a hug or a kiss the next time you see them, and I will see you next time. Bye!